Today I speak with New York film director, screenwriter and script supervisor Martha Pinson. Martha has worked on many of the biggest movies and with the biggest stars in Hollywood history. And she also worked on one of the most iconic music videos of all time. This really is a fascinating conversation for all fans of the entertainment industry. And for those who may not be aware, I too had the great pleasure of working with Martha in her feature film directorial debut, Tomorrow. We joined the interview a couple of minutes in, where Martha's about to tell us about her proud Irish heritage.
Yeah, well, my mother's family, both her parents were immigrants from Ireland, and they moved to a farm in New Jersey where my mother and her siblings and everyone grew up. And then it turned out that she was the one who stayed home and then met my father, and they married. And then I grew up on that farm. And, it's sort of suburban New Jersey, but it's also, at that point, it was quite rural. It was a dirt road and we had cows. And but my father had, he was an engineer. He went to Yale. He commuted to work every day. And so it was this combination of a kind of suburban life with this rural, beautiful, quiet life. I know how to milk a cow, for example.
So I know you from an early age, you expressed a keen interest in art, and also you're an English literature graduate. Is that right?
Yes.
So you obviously always had this creative side to you and this creative interest. Did your love for movies, did that tie into all of this?
Well, yes. I actually was a movie lover from when I was a child. I mean, the first ones I probably saw were on $1 Million Movie on the television. And then there was one movie theater, like about 5 miles away from where I lived in New Jersey, in Bernardsville. And I enjoyed seeing the films there. It was, I guess it was kind of an independent movie theater. And, but I was, fairly removed from the idea of making a movie. That didn't really seem like something you could just do, when I was young. I went to public school, Basking Ridge, New Jersey, excellent schools, and developed a strong interest in art, and I also loved math. As I said, my father was an engineer, so it was like some of each. But it was a very good school, and there is this irony in a way, or this coincidence, in that I went to school with Meryl Streep, who of course was very famous, very young, and she's beautiful and talented. We met when she was in first grade and I was in second grade on the playground. And then we also went to the same college. And so when I was in grade school, we were in the same, grade school and middle schools. And so she was the one who would sing the solo at the Christmas concert and have the lead in a program. And I was backstage in the art department. Okay. It just seemed natural to me. And that's all I knew, directly in a sense about performances and her. I mean, I still remember hearing her sing Silent Night, in the school auditorium, and it was incredibly beautiful. There was a little touch of the film industry in my sort of awareness, but I didn't. But I was more of a film buff, and I was an English major. I was a Shakespeare major. I loved literature. And actually, my dad did say that even though it might not be so practical, he wanted us to study literature and whatever we loved, art, because he felt he had to be more practical. So that's why he became an engineer, but he didn't want us to feel that we had to do that. So I was kind of free to, just study Shakespeare, which I loved. So I got a job selling tickets at the Orson Welles Cinema, which was wonderful, and gradually moved up to being the house manager, and then the PR director, public relations director. So I would write and collect and this and that, write the press releases for a new film that some wonderful, director had
Mhm.
made that we were showing at the theater. And after a few years of that was a pretty good job. Like
Yeah.
selling tickets is real boring, but okay. But being the public relations director was fascinating, and I met
Yeah.
really interesting people, including Orson Welles, who came to see us.
Wow.
I know, yeah, and
Let's explain what that was like in a moment.
he was great. Oh my God. Anyway, so I got this message from this one of the directors, like, Martha, I made money because of what you did. You have to work for me. And I was like, okay. And so I was introduced to the film industry in New York, as it were, right? I came down here and just met people. And so I did eventually get hired by, actually originally by one of the people whose prior film I handled. I got hired as a production assistant, and
Mhm.
there was a fascinating, brilliant woman on that show who was a script supervisor. So I was introduced to what that was. And at that time, in the late '70s, in a way, script supervising was, it was kind of the job for a woman. Like,
Mhm.
if you were really well off and your dad could pay for it, you could be a director.
I understand. Actually, Martha, sorry to interrupt you for a moment, because that's interesting. You're touching on points that I was going to ask you about anyway. Script supervising, for those of people that don't really know, and I even learned a lot this week when I was reviewing exactly or researching exactly what this entails. It's a lot more than I thought it was, Martha. So you were responsible for so much. Did that take a long time, the learning curve involved in that job?
um,
Tell us a little bit about it as well.
well, you do need to observe and study it because,
Mhm.
yeah, it is intricate and somewhat technical, and it's actually a big responsibility.
Mhm.
So I, you can attend a set as a trainee and sit next to the script supervisor who is working and study and learn.
Mhm.
There were some books at the time, that explains some of it, and there is a kind of basic logic and sort of an analytical standpoint that you can take, and that's kind of the one of the main things. And so the definition, in a sense, of the job is you are the person who makes sure that the film will cut, and that means cut as intended, cut as the director would like to cut it. And it also basically means that you're responsible for what's called continuity.
Mhm.
And there is naturally an effort for a film to be like the creation of a certain reality, that you're in a place and a time and a flow that is a story, but it needs to be engaging and convincing. And so if something sort of stupid happens, like suddenly the main actor doesn't have a hat,
Mhm.
right? Or whatever,
Yeah, of
that's
course.
about this one. But um, it's distracting.
Mhm.
It can take the viewer out of the fictional power and reality of the story. So, but you shoot the film in thousands of pieces in a completely, um, an order that's convenient, not in the flow of the story in any
Yeah,
way.
it's about locations and everything else.
Depending
Yeah.
on, yeah, the availability of the location,
Mhm.
the actors, the time it will take to get from A to B,
Mhm.
so that you shoot everything as a separate piece, and someone has to remember and note for the editor, this and that, and tell the director or cameraman various things about what we have established. What is this going to cut with? And
Mhm.
therefore, is this the correct screen direction, shall we say? If someone's walking sort of from the left of the screen to the right of the screen, and then you're
Mhm.
supposed to shoot the continuation of that, they have to be going in that same direction unless you purposely change it, and have the pocketbook in the same hand that they did when you shot the moment that's supposed to be a second
Of course.
before, but you might have shot it weeks before. So
Exactly. And, I mean, this all makes perfect sense to me, but just, it might be something so simple, but there's so many movie lovers out there, but maybe they don't understand how movies are made. Just to make that clear to people, they're not shot as you watch it in the movie. As you said, it depends on location, actor availability, a million different things. So that responsibility you have, it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle almost, trying to piece it all
yes.
together and in the right place. It's an incredible responsibility.
Of course, the other kind of challenging aspect of it is that within the scene itself, yes, there's the connection, the flow of the scenes and the story, but within a scene, the kind of traditional standard way might be, you have a scene that's 2 pages, you shoot a wide shot, and then you shoot a sort of closer shot, like maybe medium size on the like the half whatever of the body of the characters, and then you would shoot close-ups, individuals, or over the shoulders, but all of those have to cut together as if they are the same moment. There shouldn't be a distracting shift in the action or the dialogue or a gesture, right? Even so, it's just tricky. I mean, you can go with certain variations, of course. You just hold the shot and then it happens. And there is also a natural impulse and tradition and cool thing that you can also do ad libs, what we call improvise. Like someone could have a script to read, then they studied it and they know it. But then on the day, you can do a few takes where they just add a bunch of stuff that they just thought of at the moment, and that can be gold for the show, movie. Funny, creative, something or other. But that means, in a sense, you have to use the shot where it is, because it doesn't necessarily happen in every.
Of course, yeah.
So there is a balance of being open to having things be natural and spontaneous, but then be able to still use them, even though they may not exactly fit with everything else that you shot for that scene. It's just okay.
It's amazing. I think people listening to this are going to be blown away by the details involved. For anybody that would like to know more, there's a wonderful video on YouTube of you doing your job and showing, they've set up a scene, you know what I'm talking about, where you play the scene and then you've counted 10 mistakes in the scene.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Very good. It's a very good video.
No question. It's a serious job. I mean, you show up every day. Okay, here we go.
You have worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood history, some of the biggest directors as well, with my personal favorite, Martin Scorsese, on movies like The Departed, Shutter Island, Hugo and Aviator. You've worked with Sidney Lumet on Night Falls on Manhattan, Death Trap and Power. And of course, you've worked with actors such as the legendary James Cagney. You played yourself in a movie alongside Richard Gere. And of course, you worked with Michael Caine as well. The list is endless. But away from movies, something I forgot about. You were script supervisor and Martin Scorsese was director of Michael Jackson's video Bad. Tell us a little bit about this experience. Was it very different or very much the same for your job?
It wasn't that different. It was we were shooting in a kind of funky subway station, and and basically we only had one main character, and it was a brief show. It was kind of an honor to be there. I mean, I just felt like, whoa, he's a real rock star. Wow.
Yeah, I love his music.
And there was tremendous sort of respect and admiration of everybody there for both for Marty and for Michael. And so yeah, it was funky in the sense of the location, but it was brief, given it's just a music video.
So Martha, was there always something in the back of your mind, maybe learning from all of these directors and being inspired by them, that you wanted to take that leap into directing yourself?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the first time that I directed something was a friend of mine a wonderful friend of mine and writer, had written a play, and I was at Vassar, he was at Wesleyan, he was friends with my sister's boyfriend at the time, who became her husband. We're just friends and New Yorkers. Okay. So he had a play that was going to be in a small production in New York, and he asked me to direct it. And he said, I just assumed that you wanted to be a director. And I was like, I hadn't really thought about it, because you have to, it's not a job in the same sense as like a crew job or a lot of other jobs. You have to probably pay for, a lot of the development and perhaps even the film, or you have to find the money or whatever, that I just didn't think that I could just do that,
Sure.
It did sort of stick in my mind that, wow, that was really fascinating and so much more sort of stimulating and challenging in a different way. You have to make a lot of important decisions. You have to think about the emotional and visual sort of drama of what you're doing, and you have to work directly with the actors as far as developing what their part is going to be, what it's going to say, and combine so many elements of the visual and the verbal, the sound, the camera, the pace, right?
Everything
of the performance. How what do you do, right? Yeah, it was 2 days of shooting, and I also was fortunate in that because I worked on movies, good ones. I knew crew people. I knew a cameraman who was perfect for the job, and we were sort of buddies. We've been on set together. So there was a lot that was kind of convenient.
Yes.
And, so then and it did well. People enjoyed it. It gets a lot of views.
I really enjoyed it. I have to say I did. And again, it's on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out that hasn't seen it already. Martha, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit by giving you my own personal experience of being directed by you. That was a really wonderful experience for me. I don't think I've ever been on set, such a relaxed set. Relaxed, but also everything was under control. Very, very enjoyable. And at the very end, I don't know if you remember this, when we were filming in Spain, you gave a lovely speech when we wrapped in Spain. And I looked around when you were talking, and there wasn't many dry eyes, I have to say, on set. It was a very emotional moment. So thank you very much for just that pleasant experience. And I learned so much from you as well. And I certainly hope I get another opportunity to do so. Another thing I want to touch on as well is quite a funny story that I don't think I ever told you about. When I first landed in Spain to go filming with you guys, so I flew in first, and one of the Spanish crew collected me, didn't speak a word of English, and we were waiting on another crew member to come in from Scotland. And while we were waiting, we were trying to make conversation. So I didn't speak Spanish, he didn't speak English, but he was trying to explain what we were doing tomorrow. Now, no spoiler alerts or anything, but we had this exciting explosion scene the next day. And he was trying to explain this to me. He said, amigo, tomorrow we, boom. And I said, whoa, you cannot say boom in an airport. Shh, keep your voice down. And then, it was one of these lovely moments between two people who didn't understand each other really, but we couldn't stop laughing for about 10 minutes. I just don't know if I ever told you that.
No, that's fun. Oh God, right.
Of course. Okay, so Martha, in terms of that transition into directing, and especially into a feature film, which are on a different level again, what kind of, were there any unexpected challenges that you faced?
Usually, for a regular job, they hire you and you go and you show up, right? But in this case, there was, there's a development process, which, you're not 100% sure where it's going to go. So there's just a little uncertainty, but I really enjoyed, I thought the script was excellent.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't make sense to accept a job directing a project that you don't think the material is good. You have to, I think that would be pretty strange.
It was brilliantly written, written. Mhm.
You have to
And I
take.
think it appealed to a wide audience, and I think that's the biggest appeal of it. Now you have gone around to the film circuits, and you've gotten collected many awards for this. Let's point that out as well. Best Director awards. Well done on that. So you've seen the live audience reaction to the movie. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I really, really enjoyed being in the auditorium with a
Mhm.
fairly large audience of people, and yes, sensing their reaction. And of course, that's something that we all love. We used to do more of, probably, of being in a theater and feeling the it's like it's kind of random, but that you can sense the quiet,
Mhm.
um and feeling the it's like it's kind of random, but that you can sense the quiet, the laughter,
Yes.
the sort of the breathing almost of the
Mhm.
crowd as they respond to the film. So that was actually wonderful. Yeah.
Away from work, but again, talking about movies, when you're just in your quiet time, relaxing, and you like to enjoy a movie, what kind of genre do you enjoy the most?
Well, I mean, the in the sense of a genre, I mean, a dramatic story is not exactly a genre. It's kind of basic, but I would say, for me, yeah, it's something that is, evocative and reflective of the emotion and and also some sort of life experience that is like new to me that I wouldn't know,
Mhm.
what that was like. So it's like broadening your awareness of life, and
Mhm.
also you just, it needs to be. I guess, it needs to have, a story. You want to come in and go somewhere
Yes.
emotionally and visually. Uh, so, comedies, dramas, I like them all. It's like,
Okay, so I'm very much like that as well. I would watch any type of movie, but I 100% agree with you there about, the power of the story and the emotion attached to it. I think, is it, I don't want to say it's a concern. Obviously there's a demand there for the current situation with, explosions sell, special effects sell at the moment. It's hugely popular. I understand this, the superhero movies. Personally, I prefer the simplicity of it, maybe a true story or a powerful drama, maybe
yeah.
something like Shawshank Redemption. I love this movie. But will there always be room for that, a classic, as we say? Because these movies now with the special effects and everything, they're really cool to look at in the cinema and 3D and 4D and all of this. But I don't think they'll stand the test of time, if I'm honest. That's just my own opinion.
Hmm. I really don't know what the answer to
Mm.
that is. And I am also, there is this irony in that when I became a filmmaker and I was working long hours and showing up on set, and then I also have at the time I had a child. He's grown up
Mhm.
now, but so between taking care of my child and myself and my life, working long hours, I actually wound up not going to the movies very much. I didn't have 2 hours just to sit
Yeah.
there. It was tricky, and there's definitely an irony. I was much more of a film buff before I started working, and
Yeah.
I just don't have time. I mean,
I
and
understand
I'm
that
going
actually.
to take a break from work. I'm more likely to go for a walk in the park than watch a movie.
Yes. Okay, I get that. But maybe there was, even if you did have the time, maybe you're thinking, it's work. I want to not think about movies for a while. Yeah, so maybe there was a touch of that.
Odd, but there you go. I mean,
Actually, that makes perfect sense. Sorry for the silly question.
it's silly. Um, definitely started out as a film buff.
Yeah.
I just loved watching movies in the theater.
Mhm,
Back in the '60s and '70s. Like,
mhm.
whoa.
No, a golden era for sure. Absolutely. Martha, this is probably a very harsh and unfair question to ask you, but do you have a personal favorite like set to be part of? You know, when you think back, that was the most fun shoot I ever had. Is it fair to narrow it down to one? Probably not.
I don't think I can actually do that. There's kind of a
Mhm.
the the there's always moments,
Mhm.
that are classic. I don't know if I should like say this on, just without,
Oh, that listen,
like
don't share anything you're
it
not
might be
supposed to share.
that there's for some, there's an ad lib that's just hilarious that the actor comes up with or something that you didn't expect, and the whole crew is like just trying not to laugh out loud. I mean, there's things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
There are
So what movie are you talking about? You don't have to say what they said, but what
oh,
movie are you
right,
talking about?
right. Okay, the example, there was a fair amount of that on The Departed, for example.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That it was, it was its current time, and
Mhm.
the characters are, regular people,
Mhm.
and in a sense, and so there was a little bit more of a, opportunity for that kind of thing, and
Sure.
it was great. It was a great script, word for word.
Yes, of course. Another thing that I loved about that movie was the soundtrack. You know, the Dropkick Murphys heavily featured on this movie. So there's that Irish rock kind of theme, and I obviously that appeals to me. I love it. They're a great band. You said something to me on set in Spain, which really, I felt 10 foot tall after you said it to me, actually, where I just had a little ab lib scene and you said to me that it reminded you of on set in The Departed. And I was walking away like this, you know, I felt. Thank you.
You bet.
So, Martha, let me ask you another very difficult question. A great piece of advice that somebody once gave you.
It might be, and this relates to directing in a sense.
Mhm.
Don't cut too soon.
Yes. Oh.
Okay. Um, and it is sort of an indulgence in that uh, you're rolling film or whatever, and time is of the essence. So you want to be efficient. But I sort of thought that was true. Like, it does make sense when a take is going well, when a scene is going well, to let it sort of live there for a few more seconds after the written piece of the sort of
Mhm.
content is done, and just hold on in the eyes of the actor, or the just that beat, that moment where there's nothing maybe like written or
Mhm.
um, staged, but you're still in the moment. You're still in the moment with the people, and you might just feel something if you pause and
I'm
you
feeling it right now, Martha.
so that's
I'm feeling it right now. You're giving me goosebumps because oh my God, the passion I have for a moment like this. That's such, it sounds like such a simple thing, but you're so right. It's such a powerful moment. You're in the moment of that emotion and just something in the eyes or
right,
just, you know, you can't just cut away from that. That's a
right.
great piece of advice.
Let the
Very,
actor
very good.
just have another beat just for whatever,
Mhm.
and
Excellent.
it takes
You
a
know
little.
what? Actually, I wouldn't have an ounce of the experience that you have, but I always say the best piece of advice I got was on my first feature with Patrick Bergen. And, you know, Patrick Bergen, I had so much to learn. We're always learning. I always say that. The day you think you know it all, you're in trouble. But Patrick Bergen said to me, he says, don't act, react. I was like, oh,
In a way, it takes a moment to react. It's not as, you know, jump in.
mhm.
uh, and that might be an extremely valuable pause. The audience can see you, the actor, processing something, and that feels real. That, oh, great, yeah, good. That's good advice. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. Martha, I'm going to let you go shortly. Let me ask you one final question. What is next for Martha Pinson?
Yeah, I was really happy to say I was asked to direct another feature film, and
Fantastic.
it's in development. But I don't want to say too much about it. But
Mhm.
so we're just working on it, and doing various, casting and planning chores, and it's great. I hope it all goes well. I'm very, very honored to be asked to work on this project. It's a good script for sure.
Is it being filmed in New York? Can you tell us that?
There are a few scenes in New York, but mostly not.
Okay. I won't push you too much.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic.
I just feel
I'm
so happy.
happy. No, I'm so happy to hear you have another feature coming up. That's great news. Well done. Okay, Martha, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I'm going to let you go. It's been such a pleasure. I could really speak to you all day. Given the time difference, I won't do that to you. Thank you, not just for today. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for the wonderful advice that you've given me, and you've certainly inspired me in many ways.
And thank you for the wonderful performance you did in Tomorrow, the film we did together. That was he's good. Yeah.
Thank you, Martha. A small part, but thank you. It all adds up. Yeah.
In a way, there's no such thing as a small part.
There you go. I'm glad you said that. See, I had to sound modest,
It matters. It's an important.
Thank you, Martha.
Brief, but a very important moment in the drama, and so it matters. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great fun to be part of it. Such an honor. Martha Pinson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Take care, Martha.